Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to our witnesses very much. Last Congress, this committee pushed back against Biden regulators who imposed ESG mandates that elevate social or political agendas above material business decisions. This was most evident in the previous SEC's climate rule. Republicans were largely successful in restoring materiality and the guiding principle in disclosures and the shareholder proposal process. However, proxy advisory firms, through their concentrated influence, often function as de facto regulators by recommending ESG votes for shareholders when voting on board decisions. It's not about being against ESG as an investment choice. If individual investors want to prioritize environmental, social, or governance factors, that's their freedom. What we oppose is when these ideological views are mandated, when investors are forced to comply with burdensome regulations that prioritize political ideology over sound financial decisions. So, Mr. Mueller, Chairman Gensler, under Chairman Gensler, the SEC issued Staff Legal Bulletin 14L, which required companies to include shareholder proposals on broad societal issues, even if they were immaterial to the company. What effect, in your view, did that shift have on companies and their shareholders?
It resulted in a lot of wasted effort by both the companies handling these shareholder proposals and by shareholders at large who had to review and vote on these proposals and overwhelmingly voted against them. They said they were a waste of time.
Thank you. From your perspective, advising large companies, as you do, what are the costs in terms of time and resources that you just alluded to for companies to respond to such proposals that have no material connection to its line of business?
Yes, and both my written testimony and Mrs. Gill's testimony lays out all the actions that are borne by that. And again, it's important to bear in mind this may be a shareholder who has only owned $2,000 worth of stock. I bless those shareholders. It's good to have small shareholders. But when they are putting all that burden on the company at large, you have to question whether that's a rational system.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Keel, when the SEC refuses to block an ESG proposal for being immaterial, courts often treat that refusal as a green light. Doesn't that, combined with proxy advisors recommending yes votes, turn immaterial proposals into mandates in practice?
Yes, I mean, I think when you do not get, or whatever the SEC says is how all of the different stakeholders really interpret whether or not the proposal should be included or excluded, especially the proxy advisors. So if you were to go against what the proxy advisors recommend, I mean, there would be major consequences. And I think it's relevant that what Mr. Mueller has said before is that there's a 30% threshold that Glass Lewis imposes. So if a proposal gets 30% support, they expect you to publicly address how you have engaged with shareholders on the particular proposal. I think it's also kind of interesting that the shareholder proxies influence, we hear some numbers like 20, I commonly see the number 30% of what they control for a company. It really depends from company to company, but those numbers are suspiciously similar.
Okay, great, thank you. Mr. Keel, you've advised companies facing ESG lawsuits. Do boards feel pressured or even threatened to engage with ESG proposals even when their shareholders have rejected them?
Absolutely. I mean, but the real issue that I would like to also highlight, which I've said earlier, which is boards are grappling with these issues in the boardroom not every single day, but at every meeting, right? These are important topics when you see news about the tariffs or you see news about environmental issues. I mean, these are raised in the boardroom absent exactly what the proposal is putting forth.
All right, thank you. Mr. Copeland, proxy advisory firms like ISS and Glass Lewis often recommend yes votes on ESG proposals, even when those proposals aren't material, and shareholders repeatedly reject them. Doesn't that amount to an ESG mandate in disguise?
Effectively, because of the way they treat this. As we've heard during this hearing, they'll no-vote directors, even though it's an advisory proposal, they'll no-vote directors if they don't reply. Sometimes even for minority votes, where a majority of shareholders say no, they'll no-vote directors if the company doesn't respond.
And my understanding is the performance isn't that much worse off, but the idea of mandating and the problems that it causes is serious.
The gentleman's
your
time
understanding
has
as well?
expired.
My time has expired. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
The gentleman from Texas, Mr. Green,